Nonprofit organizations or anybody you contribute to is a trustee for your money, and we got to make sure that they're a proper trustee.
There are several levels of accountability. I mean, one is that you're following the law and you're using resources in a way that is legal and proper and moral and so forth, and you're not using the nonprofit structure as a ruse to to gain materially, and that always needs to be policed. But this organizations in the sector, whether it be foundations or nonprofit organizations, are granted important benefits by the government, by law, in terms of tax exemption and the like. And so there's an obligation there to use those resources in a manner that is socially productive.
But you want to maintain the sanctity of that tax exemption, make sure it's not abused, because if it's abused, then it's hurting honest taxpayers that are not abusing the tax laws.
One of the things that I'm thinking the most about sort of has to do with the ability of the board to fulfill its responsibility. Recently, where I've been living, we've had a series of sort of incidents or concerns with fraudulent behaviors. And so part of what I am curious about is how can we get board members to more fully assume that responsibility or confront the administrative structures that are in these organizations to be able to provide the kind of oversight that's necessary.
You're first and foremost stewards of a public trust. This was started with a vehicle that implied some commitment to the public good. That's got to be the first and foremost. And secondly is that you're a steward of someone's legacy, someone's generosity, and they established this for a reason, and they trusted you to see that, moving forward.
Foundations can be ethical stewards of the partially public dollars with which they have been entrusted. And we say partially public dollars, and this certainly has been a point of contention in the sector recently. We think foundation dollars are best viewed as partially public dollars given the immense preferential tax treatment that they receive.
I think the other place that you want to be really careful is that you make sure that those going forward understand that stewardship responsibility.
Ultimately, I mean, there's issues facing us just with regards to our own internal budget. I mean, that's kind of something we always have to remind ourselves of. We are here for the community. We are here to serve the community. We also have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that the community foundation is fiscally sound.
The public trust aspect of what they're doing does require some measure of accountability, and sometimes that means that your instinct to be modest, to be humble, needs to somehow find an outlet that says, I can be modest, I can be humble, I can still be accountable for what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and what I want other people to know, what they really should know.
We also encourage a free and open sharing of information, and that foundations have policies and practices in place that protect ethical operation. So whistleblower protection policies, conflict of interest policies, etc.
When we found that university endowments were only paying out a fraction of 1% for helping students, and why do universities exist? They exist for educational purposes to help the students. When we first raised it, we found an immediate response by very major universities in the United States that have large billions of dollars of endowment paying out more. It's another example, maybe trustees waking up to what their responsibilities are and realizing, well, it doesn't look very good that we aren't doing more.
I think you are starting to see that the donors are now monitoring their funds. This used to be a business relationship between a donor and the agency, the nonprofit. He gave the money and then he got a tax write-off, or he needed to spend his percentage in his family foundation or the foundation, okay? Now he's saying, no, no, no. We're making a big change. And we want to see effectiveness. We want to see how things are, if you're meeting what my goals are in the tent, how those mesh with the mission of the agency, and I want that to be reported back to me.